Hello, I thought I'd show you how to today how I uninstalled the injectors and the injector sleeves off the LB7 Chevy Duramax. And I did it without using any of the Chevy tools for the injector removal tool or the sleeve and the injector cup. I did it with just one tool, and that's a Harbor Freight blind hole bearing puller set. It looks just like this. So the way I did this was a spin-off of actually another YouTuber. He posted a video of how to get the injectors out. So I took that and I kind of built on that premise and came up with a really easy way that gets the injectors out in just a minute or two. And then you can use the same premise to get the sleeves out also. The first thing you'll want to do is take one of your old injector supply lines like this. These get corroded anyway, so when you do your injectors, you'll usually want to replace a set of these anyhow because of the dirt that gets inside there. So the first thing I wanted to do is I cut this off, and I got this fitting off of the end of there. Once I had that fitting off of there, I got in my bearing puller set. I got the smallest attachment that goes on the slide hammer. This attachment won't quite fit inside of here. So you need to take a drill bit and drill that out just slightly larger, just large enough you can get this fitting inside of there. Once you can get the fitting in there like that, then you can put it together and tighten it down. And after you get it tight, it'll stay on there just like that, real snug, and it will not come off. After you've got it that far, this is still in the block, or in the head of the Duramax. Of course, the sleeve is fitted in there also, so they go together just like that. What you'll end up doing is just screwing this right back onto the supply line, just like it is in the truck. Once you have it on there, you'll take your blind hole puller like this, screw it onto the end, and then you just give it a couple taps like this, and it just pulls that injector right up out of there. And it does it super easy. There's only one problem with the slide hammer that I found, is that a couple of the injectors that are closer to the firewall, there's not enough room to get the slide hammer in there. However, you can still use this situation, and you can get a wrench on there and just pry it out. It comes out pretty easy. Once you have the injector out, then you move on to trying to get this sleeve out, which there's a couple other ideas I've seen YouTubers do. They put 3/4 inch concrete anchors in there, and they pry on it, or they take a wrench down in there and try to work it out. What I found, and I was worried also with mine, is I didn't want to score this up or ruin it, because the sealing washer that's on the bottom of the injector has to seal in that surface in there. And I didn't want to mess that up at all. I wanted to make sure that this stayed very intact, so I didn't have to buy new injector cups. So what I've done for this one was a real simple setup. Is I went to the next size up on my bearing puller. And I was trying to figure out how to get this in there to make it work. And it was a real simple solution. I got a piece of garden hose. I just cut about 1 inch of garden hose off. The garden hose ends up slipping right into there, and it's snug. It's a snug fit inside the injector cup. So all I had to do at that point is put this fitting on there like that. Slide it all down in the ejector like that. And then when you tighten this up, and you end up having to tighten this up with your wrench, but when you tighten that up, it will not come out of that cup at that point. So when this is down in the cylinder head still, you have that situation. You can once again put your blind hole puller on there. You put your slide hammer on there just like that, and a couple taps with the slide hammer, and this injector cup will slide right out of there without any marring. Once again, the problem that I ran into is in a couple instances where the injector cups are on the back cylinders that are closest to the firewall, there's not enough room for this long slide hammer. So what I've done in that situation is I took the tip off of the slide hammer, just unscrewed it just like that. And I took a piece of, this is the only pipe I had that was about the right size, so I took a piece of PVC. It's an irrigation pipe actually. Any pipe that would just barely fit over these cups. As you can see, it's a very close tolerance. Anything that's a real close tolerance, about 1 1/8 inch, is about the right ID size for this. Anyway, I put this down over top. I used a washer that was just slightly bigger than the pipe, and I put it over there, and I put this back on. And then what happens is, as you can see, as it pushes that washer down, it pulls that cup right out of there, just like that. You can see as I tighten it, as I loosen it, there's more space. As I tighten this nut, it just pulls that cup right through the pipe and right up out of there until you get it loose, and then you can just wiggle it and pull the cup right up out. And it works just like that. And now what I'll do is, since I've kind of illustrated how I'm going to do it, I'll take you over the truck and we'll show you. I'll get the last couple out. Okay, so now that I've showed you how I assembled this with the blind hole bearing puller and the little piece of garden hose on the end, I'm going to make sure this is loose, and I'm going to try to pull this cup out right there. I wiped out the inside of the cup just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is slide this into the cup till it reaches the bottom. Then I'm going to turn and tighten the bearing puller until it's just pretty snug. I'm not going to overdo it, I just want it snug. So there it's snug. Now, hopefully you can see it, as I'm going to take this and I'm just going to tap the slide hammer to get the cup to come out. And it came out just that simple. The cup's out. So next one we're going to do is the one in the back. I'm going to change this to put the nut and the washer on it with the piece of pipe, and we'll show you that in a second. So now I'm back out at the truck. I'm going to remove the second injector cup right in there. I've already taken this one out. This is the injector cup that I took out of that hole. I'm going to show you how I got that out of there with the modified tool that I made from the puller. First thing I'm going to do is take my tool that I just made with the garden hose attachment. I'm going to put it in the hole till it reaches the bottom. Then I'm just going to tighten the puller assembly by hand as much as I can get. Now I'm going to take a 19mm wrench. I'm going to finish snugging that down just to make sure it's good and snug. Don't want to over tighten it. If you over tighten it, you tend to you can turn the injector cup inside the cylinder head. You don't want to do that because you could score it up. So don't over tighten it, just snug. I don't know, probably about 10 or 15 pounds of pressure is all you need. And that's pretty snug. So now I'm going to take my piece of PVC that I cut 2 3/4 inches. I'm going to slide it over top. And I'm going to take 2 washers. I'm going to put 2 washers right on top. And I'm going to put the adapter piece from the puller on top of the washers. screw that on by hand. Once I have it on by hand, I'm going to make sure that I have it centered in the hole, so that as the cup comes out of there, just going to eyeball this, make sure that it's centered. That way as the cup comes up, it doesn't actually rub on the piece of pipe when it slides in there. Now that I have that in there, I'm going to take my 19mm wrench once again. I'm just going to start to gently tighten this. I'm going to be real careful and observe it to make sure it seems like it's coming out. So I've noticed some resistance in here. The problem is that the pipe that I cut has bottomed out and become the same length as the attachment from the puller. So what I've done is I've taken out the pipe. There's 2 3/4, and I've cut a new one that was 3 1/4 inch. I'm going to try it instead. I can see that the cup down there is halfway out. I can see the top O-ring already. So now I'm just going to put one more washer on there, snug it back down by hand. Then I'm going to continue to tighten it up and try to pull it the rest of the way out. And now as I see, it's getting real easy. Just needed that little extra bit. And we got the cup out.